voltage modular people, PoohBear here, and welcome to my channel. This is the next part on from when we was actually creating some instruments with just using filters, where we create ourselves a kick, a bit of a snare-ish sort of sound, and I don't know, a dinky dinky sound over there as well. What we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be using some GaToRs, probably a flip flop counter more than likely, maybe even a switcher as well, and we're going to be switching between patterns. I'm going to create a pattern which is going to be quite long, and I'm actually going to create a pattern which is incredibly short, but I'm going to be flipping and flopping between them two patterns to show you can actually have like totally different length patterns which you're allowed to switch between. Obviously we can make the rules up as we want because we're in voltage modular here. I'm going to take a copy of this. I'm going to be quite lazy. I'm just going to take a copy of these and just push these towards the bottom here. There we go. As I say, that's just me being a little bit lazy. I'm just going to take this GaTOR. Let's have a quick look at this. And I want to give it a nice unique channel. Well, channel 9 would do me for the moment. I'll just put that over there. I'm going to make quite a few copies of this. Let's see. I'm actually going to remove that one. I'm going to put that in there for the moment. You'll see why in a minute. Again, I'm just being lazy. I know what sort of pattern I'm going to be creating. He says I'm probably going to have to make it up on the fly. 2, 4, 6, 8, that's what I wanted there. Great, let's highlight them all, just move them a little bit so they all join up together. And let's put in a flip-flop counter in between. Cool. So the pattern I had going on my genitive piece would have been boom, ch, doom, doom, ch, doom, 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 doom. Then it would be off that one and there. And then it's going to be do, 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 do. So off there and off there. Something like that. We'll find out in a minute. And obviously what I should have done, I should have put these onto a different channel. So I'm going to move this one to a different channel. So I don't have to change all these. And then I'm just going to link these all together. So from the outs to the ins, 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 out to an in. Make sure we click a master on, so we've got to have a master. And I'm going to take this global and I'm going to put it into A in my flip-flop counter. So A on flip is going to X, and on flop it's going to Y. I've got nothing plugged into there, so I can leave that on Y. Excuse me, or I could turn that to the off position. So I'm going to grab this global, even though I've only got it one, I'm still going to grab the global, put that into B, B's into Y, well it doesn't matter, nothing's plugged into Y, or I'm not going to use Y, and when it's in the flop mode it's going to go to A, great. And then I'm going to take X and I'm going to fire off and I'm affecting this envelope here. So let me just remove that spare cable. So that was our kick which we created last time. What I've got to do is obviously set this threshold quite high, because this is it's going to take its trigger from this gate over here, and in fact I want to hold my control key down, and I need an in there and an in there, and I'm going to hold my control key down on this trigger here so I can go reset, 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 so they all reset at the same time. And also I've got to finish off, I'm jumping all over the place, sorry about this. I'm also going to set up my my flip-flop counter by putting it into square mode. So that means when it's in one mode, it's going to be driving all this, and then when it flips, it's going to stay for the same amount of time for that same threshold. And I'm actually going to do it after for 64, so it's going to be 64 pulses here, 64 pulses on this one here. Theoretically, that should actually work. I think just to make it sound a little bit more interesting, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put this on its own channel up here, and I'm going to take that one there and just plug that into here. So that's my snare. Let me just take a trigger out of here and hit that reset. If not, it's all going to be totally out of time, isn't it? So let's see what happens. Coming to the end. Now let's play this one here. Here it goes to 64. Back to this one. So let's actually move this on, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the snare And we're going to get the snare to go hit, 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 and then we're going to do a double hit. Then we're going to go hit, 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 and then we're going to get to do a double hit. But what we're going to do is we're going to move it forward though on from there, and we're going to go hit, 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 and then we're going to want this one to actually hard pan left, hard pan right. So it'd be do do do, boom, boom, do do do, boom, boom, sort of thing. Obviously on the snare sound. So the first thing I'm going to go and do is actually go and grab. This is the gator for the snare. So let's grab that down and put that in the new cabinet down here. And let's first of all set this up very, very quickly. So I'm just going to make a copy of this gator. As I said, I want 4 of them. So let's just quickly just tidy that up a bit. And let's come down here. So we've got to go out to her in, out to her in, out to her in, loop that back around to the beginning, put that on master. That's the out currently. So obviously that's the out just running for this gator only because we've now linked them all together. We've got to go to the global. So that should be going for the global out. And theoretically, that should actually work. So let's have a listen. Caught me out. That one kicked in. Okay, so that's great. I'm going to actually do something else as well before we actually move forward. I'm actually going to take this storing forward. I'm going to make a copy of this storing forward down here. I'm just going to reset the swings on these. And I'm going to take this down from a 16th down to, I'm going to go down to a half note. So if I use a half note, that should be one complete strip of a gator. So if I take that gate out, and I'm actually going to drive this trigger up here now instead. So we just take that one out, which would mean I've got to totally change what we're looking at here. So if we move this down to say 16, so that should be 2 lots of this, and then it's going to do 2 lots of that. Let's make sure we wire up the reset, because we've always got to make sure everything's reset, so everything's actually in sync. So we're going to do that. Now what we're going to do is let's actually work on it and have a look how we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, and then we want this to go pan, pan. Well, what we're going to need there will be a flip-flop counter. Oh, here's a flip-flop counter. Let's quickly grab this one down. And we're going to want that to a threshold of 4. And we're going to want that actually on a flip-flop. So we put that onto flip-flop, and we're going to want it to happen on. So it's going to happen on the 4th. We're going to do something. So let's take a trigger out of here. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's going to be the one which we're going to trigger. And then that's where we need to do something with this. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to add myself a voltage controlled mixer. That's what we're going to add. And so if we go up to here, and I want this is the bass, that's the snare here, isn't it, over this side here. So I'm just going to grab the snare out. So this is now the audio for the snare, which we're going to put into A. And I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to put that into input number 1. So at the moment, on flip, it's going to X. And then on flop, it's going to Y. So, now we can control Y. But as I said, what I wanted it to do, I wanted it to go pan, pan. So first of all, let's do it, probably not the way I would do it, but I'm going to do it this way, just as a demonstration. I'm going to take this threshold and take this threshold down to 2. Great. But I'm going to take that trigger, and I'm going to get that triggered from here. So there we go. We've got 2 steps, and that's going to trigger this backwards and forwards in the flip-flop mode because we've got a threshold of 2. So I'm going to take the audio and feed that into A. So now we've got the audio coming in on this X. So I'm going to put that one into, say, input 2, and I'm going to put this into input 3, and we could just pan these. There we go. And in fact, we don't have to actually have totally hard panning. We could do it like that. And all we've got to do now is obviously, let's bung this out and out. Where are we? Down here. And I'm going to take the kick. I think the kick's on this one here. Let's actually have the kick in this one here as well. So we've got that there. So there's nothing to say that this shouldn't actually work. Let's just do a reset. That's always an all-important thing. Get the resets working. And let's actually do it hard. So instead of actually moving the, actually doing the audio, let's actually move the pan knob itself. So what I'm actually going to grab is a DC source, because I'm going to need to create some volts. So let's grab one of them. Here we go, and let's just move that in the middle here. Here's the audio coming out at the moment. So I'm just going to disconnect these two. That's what had audio coming out from here and here. And I'm going to take an audio output from this counter into there. So at the moment it's going to go 1, 2, 3, and then the audio is going to switch over to this side. And as you can see, we've got ourselves a pan there, which is fine. And I'm going to take a output from my DC source, and I'm going to just do increase that up. So it's going to go into X. So we're going to take X out. We're going to put that into the pan, and obviously we need to turn the pan knob up. And when it comes over to Y, let's just turn that off, I'm actually going to turn it off. So if it's off, it's going to go into its 0 state. So it's actually going to send 0 volts through. So it should send voltage through, which should move the pan, and then it should go back to 0 volts, which should actually default it back to there. So let's give that a little go. And let's just, you can hear it a lot more clearer. So there we go. So we've got two different ways that we can start manipulating this. We can obviously manipulate it using the voltage, doing the pan in, which is actually a preferred way. I'll actually prefer doing it rather than actually trying to switch the audio around. But that's another method. Just don't forget that you can obviously take the audio which was going through here, which we pumped out of here, could have pushed the audio through here, which we then can split out and go into different places and then flip-flop around it. Because that's the sort of thing I do as well, especially with effects. So I may split this off and I might say, right, actually this one's going to go via a reverb and back in, and this one might go through some delays and then come back in. So by using the flip-flop counter, not so fast, but with the bass, which you'd hear later on. So when we go and design our bass sound, I use this kind of method for hard panning left and right for the bass, for the different notes. And I also use it for changing the octave. So I'm actually just pumping one bass note in, but I'm using this kind of method of using like another gator, which is flipping flopping and actually adding a voltage in, a 1 volt in. So we're actually changing the octave. So we'll have a look at that. That's obviously going to happen in another project when we build the bass up. So I'm going to leave it at that, like this for the moment, because we've gone through a couple of different things of using the flip-flop counters, and as I say, there's nothing stopping you getting this audio, as I say, and then you can really change the sounds. Like we had that tin sound, and then we might say, hey, let's actually take away the envelope which was going into that one, because remember it went wooden. If we remove this, it goes into a little bit of a tin sound, and we could obviously add ourselves a another counter to flip-flop between the two, so it could go. In fact, why don't we actually do it? Let's not talk about it, let's actually do it. So I'm going to take this counter here, I'm going to take this control and whack it into A. I'm going to take X out and put it back into this one here. So when it's on here, So let's just work this out and make sure we get this all right. Oops, I'm trying to put that on to off. And I want, have it on square. Yeah, okay, that's going to be interesting. So what we do with the sound, let's see how, I don't know how it's going to come out, but we have it so it's going to go twice round on this, and then, and let's quickly roll that to the reset as well. So it's going to go twice round, and it's going to be playing one sound on which is coming out of there, and then when we go around our second time, and obviously what this hasn't got is any gate information, so, oh actually, we're going to need that from there, so that's going to be the gate for that. And let's, I need to drive this, so I'm driving this from the one below now, aren't I? So there's my storing forward, it's driving everything there. So that should drive that. Right, let's give that a go and see what that sounds like. Oh, I haven't got a trigger. I just realised I haven't got a trigger. You can actually hear it working now, so obviously it does help if you remember to wire up the trigger, and obviously I was doing it to 16 because we're taking our trigger out from this storing forward. Right, I will leave it here now. And I will see you in the next part. So thank you for watching, and bye for now.